Let's start.
Great.
Good morning, everyone that's watching this, that has been watching and that is watching right now, that's just discovered us. Well done, you discovered us. So today we are joined, well, I am joined by beautiful people. We've got Lee and Aaron and Susanna with me today. Wonderful people. And today we are going to be talking about forgiveness. So forgiveness is a massive subject, obviously, because in life, we travel through so many different things, experiences, life experiences, situations that we deal with, and it kind of like all sort of stays stored in your memory a bit. But they are stored there in the memory, and it leads to kind of almost like patterns throughout life. And all of the things that are stored, if it's a negative perception at the time, you can be left with kind of baggage, basically baggage. And even though you believe that maybe it's forgotten, that it doesn't affect you, there may be things that you need to revisit to forgive not only the other person, but who you are yourself, because forgiveness starts from within, basically. And we can't make anyone else forgive us. It's only for us to forgive ourselves and to forgive situations, to look at things from different perspectives. That's where the challenge is, and that's where we go back and fix it. Am I right in saying that, guys? Right. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know how to forgive themselves. They can't just let go and move on in their heads. You might be focusing on the wrong part of self-forgiveness. They use words like, I can't forgive that person, or I'm stuck in this situation, I'm lacking in forgiveness, you know, and you're not focused on forgiving. You're not focused on forgiving yourself. And forgiving isn't what you are doing. You're punishing yourself. So what you need to do is forgive yourself to forgive the situation. And so, do you deserve to be happy? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And everyone deserves to be happy. And it's just going to that place that you recognize everything in you that is so wonderful and so special, and realize all of these qualities that you have that you give to so many other people, and allowing yourself to give them back to yourself, because that's so important, to be able to love who you are before you can love anyone else as well. It starts from here. So I will talk about, well, I've had many situations in life, forgiveness that I've needed to forgive. I was bullied at school, like massively bullied at school for many years. In fact, I was bullied right from the age of 3 years old when I was at primary school. And I remember, and I have worked through this, obviously, because of my NLP, thank goodness. I'm therapy in motion. But I remember at 3 years old, I was in a class, I was in this school, and the teacher in the class, it was freezing cold outside, it was snowing. And at 3 years old, the teacher singled me out in class for something I'd done, and whatever it could be at 3 years old. But she tied me to a chair and she made me sit outside in the snow with no coat on, right? That's the first thing. And obviously she got sacked because I told my parents and it all came out. But that was the first experience of being bullied, or, you know, experiencing that kind of, what did I do wrong? What did I do so wrong that this person could make me feel so bad? And that kind of almost like stuck with me. So that stuck with me quite a lot throughout the life. I never forgot it. And forgiveness isn't about forgetting. Forgiveness is about accepting and looking from perspective. So I couldn't be her. I couldn't look through her eyes and see what she was seeing. Maybe she was having a bad day. Maybe she was, you know, having an awful time at home. Maybe she was in pain. Maybe she was so many different things that she could have been. But for me as a 3-year-old kid, it was everything. It was just awful. And So I lived through that. And then I got bullied throughout primary school. I was always the odd one out. In Kiss Chase, I was the one they was running away from, you know what I mean? Nobody wanted to kiss me, you know. And then secondary school, I got kind of physically and mentally bullied for a long time. And all of these things culminated in a lack of self-worth, a massive lack of self-worth. And I had to fight all throughout my life to prove who I was and that I was worthy of something. And I was pushing all of these things out there to the world that I'm worth it. Look, I can do this, I can do this. But at the end of the day, my self-worth, which had stemmed from all that bullying, was practically zero. So I didn't love who I was. I didn't love myself. I didn't feel worthy of enough. And it took a hell of a long time to get to that point where I forgave myself, because it wasn't my fault. I was a child. It wasn't my fault that I was different to other kids and that I wasn't a size 8 or, you know, or that I was 15 stone when I was 15 years old, because I was, and I had acne and I had really bad curly permed hair and I wore the worst fashion in the whole world, which I continue to this day, but I choose to this time. You know, so all of these things, that wasn't my fault. That was just me. And I had to learn to love who I was and accept who I was before I could forgive the people that were bullying me, basically, which I have done. Thank you. So, and how I did that was NLP, going back on my timeline, revisiting important points that had affected me, even though I'd blocked them out at the time. And I went back on that timeline and I looked through the situations through my eyes. And then I started looking through their eyes and what they were seeing. And I kind of like made all sense of it. And perspective is a beautiful thing. So from that perspective, I then gained my vision again, and I gained my self-worth, and I could apply that all the way up and down my timeline. And I gradually got stronger, and I just decided that I was worth it. And as soon as I decided I was worth it, life felt so much better, and I could walk along the road with my head held high and not think everyone was looking at me because I was different or weird or, oh, look at her, you know, all of those things. Because I had all of these amazing things in my life, but I never felt like I was worth it. So I was walking down the street with my head in the phone, hiding, you know, because I was scared to be me. And then after the NLP, I was walking down the street, and it was so powerful because I noticed that I could walk down the street and just be me and just walk down, and I didn't care who was looking at me, and I didn't care what people thought about me, because their thoughts about me wasn't my issue anyway. It wasn't my problem. What they thought, I can't do anything about that. All I can do is about how I feel about me. So that's one of the situations, the bullying in life. And it also played through in relationships. You know, I got very bullied in relationships. I just allowed myself to be the victim so many times because of self-worth. And so my healing journey became all about being authentic and forgiving myself mostly. So I would like to open it up now that you've heard my whole life story. I'm sorry to subject you to that on VE. Oh, by the way, happy VE Day. Happy VE Day. Do you have VE Day in France? Oh, I can't. Mute.
I was muted. Yes, we do.
Yeah, happy VE Day. And do you have it in South Africa?
No. Only those of us who are from English descent obviously do remember and know it, but it's not a...
So, yeah. Actually, it's about forgiving what they went through as well. They must have been through some awful things and experienced some. So yeah, it's quite apt. Today is about forgiveness and self-worth and moving on and all that. So let's open it up. Who's first? Who can be first? Let's go, Lee. Lee, you're next to me.
Me?
Yes, you. I know that you're going to be doing the most amazing technique later, so I'm excited about that. And Susie and Aaron, all of you. Right, Lee.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think also forgiveness is also about a decision. So I remember being in a situation, well, I won't go into the whole long story, but where it was about having to forgive. And I remember thinking, please help me to forgive. I want, and I kind of, again, I was putting it out there that I wanted somebody else to help me. Somebody else must make me forgive. Someone else can do something that would help me to forgive. And it just never happened until one day I actually physically decided, and I started using the affirmation, I forgive you. I forgive the situation. I forgive. Because holding on to non-forgiveness, basically what we're doing by doing that is we are losing our power. We're giving our power away to something or someone else. So if you're holding on to resentment, if you're not forgiving, you're giving away your power, and then nobody's got power to move on because we're holding on to this situation. So when we start forgiving and we make conscious decision, just like you did in your NLP, you went back, you analyzed it, and you chose to move forward in forgiveness and it's a choice we make, which again is frustrating because it's, can't someone just do a magic hit on the head or whatever it is, like a little fairy tale wand and make change? But they can't. It has to come from within. And I think when you make that choice to forgive and you're willing to say, I forgive, not I'm trying to forgive, someone's helping me forgive, and you go through the process, and for all of us it's different ways, it's there are ways in which one forgives, but I remember distinctly saying, I now forgive this person, and I visualized going forward much easier than it could have or would have been. And it's a situation, just to put into perspective, it was my husband's got a child from another relationship, and it was the mom of that son, so that we could go forward in life easily. And honestly, from that moment when I hadn't met her at that point, but I'd met her, and we're very friendly, she's divine, we've all got on, and I think if I'd harbored unforgiveness toward her because of the situation that they had, which wasn't even my situation, it might not have been the same, but it does open you up, and it opened all of us up to be free. It opened the freedom for my husband as well, because he could now introduce me, and whatever the situation is. So I think that's huge. And I very often think that other problems in our life stem from lack of forgiveness. So if we're holding on to something and we're not letting go, then we are, the other problems come around it and surround it. So people might come to me in my practice and see me for, for other reasons. But when we get down to it, what's holding them back from moving forward is very often forgiveness, which is why, if we do have time, I'd love to do the process with everybody, because it's profoundly powerful when we allow ourselves to forgive.
I'd love that, Lee. I can't wait. I'm so excited. There's always things to forgive. There's always things. Oh, darling, thank you. And so maybe Aaron, my darling,
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning.
All righty. Good morning. Yes, I guess in connection to what Lee just said, yes, it's when you forgive somebody, it is that you're deciding to be freed. So you're not trying to forget the memory or change the memory, you're deciding to be freed. And what we learned in NLP is pretty profound, that a true nature of a memory is that it wants to be free, to be able to integrate into your system. So, and maybe in simple terms, so people kind of understand how this works behind the scenes and what's happening when you harbor negative emotions, such as resentment and anger. That particular entity in your body, that negative emotion is separated. And your body wants to work as a whole, but there's an entity separated and always creeping back on you here and there. When you remember that person, somebody brings her up or brings bring him up, or and you kind of feel the emotions running through your body, and you're powerless, as Lee just said, that it seeps the power, it drains you. And unless you complete that memory and it's free, and you decide to be freed, it's trapped. They call it trapped emotions. And you can't work, your body can't work as a synchronous unity. It's like, I was thinking this morning of an analogy, and I thought about like a classroom of kids working on a project, and they're trying to collaborate, right, to achieve something. And there is a kid who's just misbehaving, just annoying everybody, yelling, and really causing a lot of problems. So the teacher, instead of kind of exploring how the kid could benefit from the results and maybe talking over some things with him, separate him from the crowd. Okay, you're gonna sit here in the corner because you're causing a lot of problems. They carry on with the project, but that kid is still disrupting the others, yelling and calling them names and whatever. So that collaboration is not in a flow. It's just like you harboring those emotions. You're not in a 100% flow. It's always disrupting you, just like that kid disrupting the class. So they're not gonna get that productive result, because there's somebody disrupting them all the time. It is the same, your trapped emotions creeping back on you and disrupting your life all the time. And I'm not sure if the analogy made sense, but
it does. It does.
Yeah.
It does. It's very close to what happened to me as well. So yeah. Yeah. And just it harbors those emotions in the child that will just stay there until it's dealt with, basically, and that's what they come. So
yeah. And maybe just to add to this, it's never about the person. When you forgive somebody, it's not gonna affect the other person. It's just gonna affect you. So if you harbor those emotions, it's still not gonna affect the other party, only you. And maybe just talking about tools and ways to help this process move along. Maybe the changing some of those beliefs could be essential. So thinking, like what we learned in NLP, I think it's pretty profound. One of the presuppositions that everybody's doing the best they can with the resources they have available. Or the second one is every behavior has a positive intent. So knowing that that person who you thought caused you harm or hurt you was actually trying to communicate something, because everybody on this planet is doing two things: looking for threats and rewards. So you're trying to stay alive, and you're trying to find pleasure and rewards. So that person, however he behaved, he was trying to be accepted, loved, the key, emotional needs. So that person just chose the wrong way of communicating. Maybe was trying to overpower you, to balance out the lack of confidence, or that he was hurt. Just like the bullies, they try to overpower to compensate for something that's inadequate, right? That's a deep underlying issue. And when you think about that, oh, hey, that person, my friend, hurt me. He was really trying to communicate his feelings and trying to balance out his emotions. So, and he didn't choose the right way. And so at that point, if I feel compassion towards that person because he was actually going through pain, exhibiting those behaviors, when you feel the compassion towards it for the person, it kind of makes a shift.
That's right.
From personal experience. But I'm curious what you all have to say about this.
Absolutely, I think that's great. And also, the other thing that sprang to mind is like that they always said that holding on to resentment is like drinking a cup of poison and expecting the other person to feel the pain. But the only person that feels the pain is you. So why drink the poison? Throw it away. Yeah. My Susie. Hey, darling.
Yeah, I managed to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree with Aaron with everything he said. Indeed, there are some beliefs in there. But I also would like to add that when you accept that forgiveness, the effect is not only on you. it actually can release the other person from, because there's this invisible ties that we have with each other, especially in personal relationships. So you could change your life and theirs as well for the best. So that's a little comment I had to do on your opinion, Aaron. So yeah, I believe that if there is one major process or a fundamental process that the human soul goes through, I think this is it. There's nothing else more important than that. And when this is done, everything else opens up. That's what I believe. So what does it mean actually to forgive? That's the question. As you said, Danielle, you know, people don't know. They would like to, but they don't know how to do that. And for me, it was a long process to start to have glimpses of that and to start to see what true forgiveness is. Because when something bad happens and it seems so unfair and so unjust, it's very, very hard to say, like Christ said, right? Forgive them, Father, if they don't know what they do, right? But if there was a definition to forgiveness, I think to me, this is exactly it. And there are keywords in there. They don't know what they're doing. So they don't know that what they do is so harmful to you. And it's not to give an excuse for bad behavior, but this is the truth. And in this process that I've been through, I think it is an understanding. The process of forgiveness is an understanding and an increased capacity to love, expanding your capacity to love beyond the limits or the conditions of the human mind and body and the human heart. Yeah. So you expand your capacity to love from human love into a deeper and larger and greater type of love. This is what I think forgiveness is. And I understood forgiveness, or the glimpse that I have of it. Probably I don't have it all, because probably I won't be here anymore if I did it completely. I understood forgiveness without necessarily aiming at it. So for me, the whole process, looking back at my life now, was a matter of dealing with what I was feeling in regards to that unfairness that was happening to me. And you know, life is always challenging at in all relationships. This is where the challenge is actually in relationships, isn't it? Is it with your family, your parents, your children, your spouses, your business relationships, your friends? It comes down to the same thing, right? So relationships are keys in our life, and it's fundamentally the same process. It's just that in the relationships between, like in the family, parents, children, and with the spouse, it's more intense because there is more attachment involved in there. And when we work on the relationship, even though we don't aim towards forgiveness, we realize that ultimately the lesson is forgiveness by working on how I respond to this particular attitude or actions that people have towards me. And the more I worked on myself, the more I realized that the process is actually undoing what was done and becoming more and more aware of the truth of what happened. So to me, forgiveness is being able to see the truth. Because as you said, Danielle, we have these memories from our childhood, if it happened back then, or more recent ones. And we have only a limited perception. The image that we have created in our minds about what happened has very little to do with what really happened. Yeah. And this is when timeline techniques and hypnosis, when you go back and you visit these memories, you can actually even dive into the other person. I don't know if you've tried that. Not only that you see yourself responding to that particular moment, but you can also decide to float above the scene and dive into the other person and have insights into that person on why and what they were feeling and what they were experiencing in that particular moment. And not only that, you can float back up, and then from there you can ask your superior mind to get a real vision, a real understanding of what happened. And it's then that you can process this memory and then have a more clear vision of what happened and why. And one more thing I would like to add is this metaphor, this example that I give usually in the coaching sessions when I work with people on this particular aspect, is to imagine that you're going on a trip, and then you want to go camping, and you go out there, you find a beautiful landscape, you install yourself there well, and then there is this huge storm coming, and it destroys your tent and it destroys everything that you have. and then you're left without nothing, and you can eventually, God forbid, you get hurt. And to think that that happened to you because of you, this would be silly, right? To believe that that storm happened and it was addressed at you. So storms they are never personal. So in my opinion, if there is an underlying emotion or belief underneath the incapacity to forgive, or the sense of, how do you call it, resentment, is because we believe it is addressed to us. So the most freeing thought or belief we can start to accept that it has nothing, or it had nothing to do with me. Because, and follow me on this one, if you follow the process, forgiveness means what? Means to be able to accept somebody else's behavior who did something bad to me. And this is a sort of vicious circle, because it's impossible to do that when you think of it. That's why many people turn around in circles and dwell on past events for years, not only because they're in their unconscious mind, but because they believe they are the victims. So if you take out the to me out of the equation, it becomes simple. So why am I suffering? Because something bad happened and there's no more to me.
That's nice.
Because nobody's perfect. I mean, except myself, of course, and that's a joke. I mean, we all try to be at our best all the time, but we can't. We're humans, right? So people will do mistakes. People are just sums of memories, what they received from their past generations, what they've been traumatized with. So when they respond or they act towards us in a certain way, it's not them and it's not you. It's just a memory. It is a pattern acting then. It is a store, something that just happens. And when you start to see things from this perspective, it didn't happen to me, it just happened. Then you have this distance, and then looking at it from a different perspective, involving your higher mind in order to understand and seeing things for as they are. Danielle, that thing didn't happen to you. It's not at you that was directed. It's nothing to do with who you were. It was just the patterns and the beliefs and the models of the world of that person. It just happened to be you. It could have been any other kid.
Yeah, well, I was the easy choice. I was the easy choice for them to put all of their pain and externalize it into me, because I was a little bit different. So that I was the easy one to focus it on. Once one person's doing it, then the next person does it, and it just makes it, because they're together, and it's just easy for them. But that's okay, because that wasn't about me. It was about them.
It wasn't about them.
Herd mentality. And it takes courage to be that person that's not in the herd. It does.
It does.
But that's to be celebrated. Celebrate. And not, you're not a victim, you're a survivor. you did that, you got through that. Look how powerful you are. Look at what you've gone through. And look how you achieved those things, and now look at you. You're through that. And I loved what you said about the storm as well, because what's that quote? It's something about like, when you walk through the storm, there's the calm on the other side. There's a quote. What's that quote?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know. Yeah,
there's a quote, isn't there? I wish I could. Brain. I'm seeing myself in a clown outfit. It's something about it's not the storm that's important. As soon as you get through that storm, through all that bad weather, through all the rain, through the wind, through everything. Yeah, have a look, Lee. On the other side of that storm is the beautiful calm and peace that the storm has, released, and yeah, that is a beautiful quote. It really reminded me of what you were saying, Susie. So
yeah. So just to wrap it up, I think the best way to go about forgiveness, rather than going into that vicious circle, or I'm a victim, because being a victim, I've been there and I know what it feels. It probably plays its role for a while, but it's not too good to stay there. So as long as you believe that you have to forgive, that puts you automatically into the victim mode. I was the victim, so then I have to forgive. So in order to come out of this vicious circle, from what I've learned, is that most truthful way to go about it is to have that intention to find out the truth. And this is what I've been working. I want to see the truth of what's going on. And the truth is, it wasn't about me. The truth is that I have lots of compassion about the other one. And the truth is I can love beyond that. The truth is that I can change. The truth is that I can understand why they did it. And just by understanding why, sometimes it's very liberating. So don't search for forgiveness, search for the truth.
Nice.
And eventually you get to the forgiveness, because that was my path. Of course, that's why I talk about that. That was my path. I searched for the truth, and on the other side, I found forgiveness, and I realized, yes, forgive them, Father, because they didn't know what they did.
Beautiful. Did you find that, Lee? Did you find that quote?
Just remember, there was calm before the storm, and there will be calm after.
Yeah,
Is that the one you were thinking of? Yeah.
They're all that kind of analogy, yeah, and I think that's so beautiful. So I'd like to say as well, in this situation that we're going through with the lockdown period, you know, there's a lot of people that are experiencing abuse, you know, physical, verbal abuse, mental abuse, pain, all of those things, and there's a lot of suffering that is going to be going on, you know, both internally, not just someone being the victim of, but also for the person that's experiencing that pain as well. Like, there's things going on. It's hard. It's very difficult to forgive something when you're in it. When you're in that situation right now, if you're in a situation where you're getting beaten on, or you're experiencing the worst things that you can imagine, it's very hard to forgive. How do you get through a situation like that? How?
Well, I don't think forgiveness is the point there. When you're going through a situation like that, you have to act according to the situation. I don't think there are rules. Okay, we have to forgive now, and now we have to, now's the situation to do this. I think you have to follow what feels true and right to your heart right then. And if you're being abused, then you have to get out of there first. Save yourself first, and then start thinking of forgiveness. Yeah.
I suppose forgiveness is almost like a perspective. It's like you're going through that, and then in perspective, when you look back at that situation, you can then forgive. Yeah.
Or you can ask for that truthfulness. Like you are in the situation, you can really connect with yourself, connect to a greater force, and then ask what's true now, what is true and real now, and go with what the answer is. Because if you train yourself, and if you are, for instance, for Christians, it's kind of easier in a way, because forgiveness is the key word, right, for Christianism. So you will always attempt to do that by default, because you have trained your mind and your heart to go into that. So it depends on each person, but you've never thought of forgiveness before, it's going to be hard to do that. So just go with whatever is necessary. Call the police, get out of the house, call your mom, go back there, and then see what you can do, and then start working on more subtle levels.
Yeah, and there's always someone you can talk to and someone you can contact. You know, the power of the internet, the power of technology and communication is so massive, and we're very blessed to have that in our lives. So even if you have no one around you that you feel that you can go to, there's always someone that you can contact that will be able to help you. You know, the Samaritans, or, you know, in the other countries, there'll be the equivalent to that. So there's always something or someone that you can do to get through to the other side, so that you can carry on and forgive on time. So,
and that's the magic of NLP, I find, because it's one of the tools that enables you to see people's behavior in a different way, and as I said before, not to take it personally. So to really understand what's going on and have tools on how to establish reports, so you can create out of any situation a better outcome when you have the tools. So learning the tools is important. That's why it's good to train your mind and train yourself into using those tools.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, and also, like, if you've got the opportunity of maybe being with that person and speaking to them, you know, like to resolving something in person, you can free yourself. If everyone just says exactly what needs to be said from the heart, authentically, and you can flow some love to that situation, whether you're in it or whether you're on the outside of it, to get love and to look at it through different eyes. I think that's really powerful, and you can release the hurt and keep the learnings from that situation, so that, you know, you're not You're not going to be that person anymore. You're going to learn from that, but you don't have to be a prisoner to it. You don't have to be a prisoner. So yeah, interesting.
I think that's very true. When you talk about the prisoner and the loving, you know, we imprison ourselves with the feelings and the thoughts that we have, and you know, and against other people. But when you can genuinely, and I find with forgiveness, one of the most beautiful things is when you can genuinely allow yourself to give love, you know, to the person, to the thing that's really like freaking you out. That sending love, just imagining sending love, thinking about it, visualizing it, whichever way is right for you. When you send love to that person, it'll be accepted where it needs to be accepted. That's fine. That's out of your control. That no longer has anything to do with you, and that doesn't matter, which is great. What you want to do is just give the love, because when you're sending the love, you already begin to feel free. You already begin to get yourself out of jail, so that you can be free, and you can hope that they'll have the love. And even just sending the little bit of love for those that want it, as I say, will be accepted. Maybe it'll start working in them. They'll accept some more and some more and some more. But even by knowing that you're doing that and you're sending love, all of a sudden your feeling about the person, your feeling about the situation changes. And like Susanna said, you know, with the perceptual positions, it's wonderful. You know, we won't have time to do that now necessarily with people, but you know, go look up NLP perceptual positions if you don't, and that's physically going into the other person, the other situation, and then going up to the fly on the wall or the angel up, you know, and it's powerful. It's so beautifully powerful. But again, I think you're right, Susanna, you can only do that after, you know, while you're busy going through a really difficult situation. You need to deal with it and get out of it. Because to try and get into the other person and be in that, you won't be coming from it from a position of strength and love. You're coming at it from a position of possibly anger, possibly fear, or whatever. So it's not a positive, it's not, you need to do what's right in the moment before you move on to the forgiveness and that sort of thing.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, and Aaron, like, I know your background is you do a lot of personal training stuff as well, don't you? And I know, Susanna, you do yoga, but you do personal training, don't you?
I don't do personal training. No, it's just.
I don't mean personal, but you're very much to do with health, aren't you? Or am I getting?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty health conscious and you know, sport, exercise.
Forgiveness through sport, exercise, and health. What does that mean to you? What can people do to help themselves?
I think it's, you know, if we talk about, you know, exercise and fitness and how that can contribute to your emotional well-being when you're going through something like this, I think it's a great tool to balance out the emotions and gain perspective and you know, communicate more love, as Lee and Susanna mentioned, that on a spiritual level you get maybe with this you know, with the physical level, you also open up the channels to a higher level of spiritual practice. I think it does help, yeah, from personal experience. So not only are you becoming, you know, mentally, you know, clearer minds, and emotions are balanced out, but also a high level of spiritual being, and you can actually send love to that person because, you know, having worked through those perceptual positions Lee mentioned, you know that that person was experiencing pain, which was why he might have behaved that way. So that person needs love. You send love. So yeah, just answering the question, I think the physical level does help. It kind of ties everything together.
And
to be
for you, like for the person that's doing, say they've beaten themselves up because they're feeling they're not forgiving themselves for not doing a routine where they're going to feel better. They're beating themselves up because they're not looking after themselves. Can that be made into a forgiveness almost? What do you think, Susie? What do you?
How do you mean? Just sorry.
Say you feel like you should be eating the right food, you should be doing exercise, you should be doing this, all of these things that you should be doing, but you're not. So in return, it's almost like a self-punishment. You're not doing this. So you're beating up on yourself because you're not doing these things. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
I do it sometimes myself.
It's forgiving yourself, like not doing those things. It's forgiving yourself for not doing those things and just recognizing that that each. Come on, Susie, you say something.
Oh, yeah, I have so many ideas that come to mind now. But
I see it in your face.
It comes down to the same thing I was saying earlier. If you try to forgive, that means you're doing something wrong. But if you are staying in the truthfulness, like what is true now and what do I really need now, it boils down to the next action that you're going to take. When you try to forgive, sometimes we go too much into this emotional realm, and now is my yogic hat that I'm having on. So because we go into the emotion and we go into too much of drama and we try to forgive something. Well, it's hard to forgive something that is bad. It's hard to forgive being harmful to yourself. How can you forgive if you understand that you're doing something harmful to yourself, like smoking, like drinking too much, or doing something bad? So if you just change the way you look at it, you don't have to forgive yourself. You just have to ask some other questions, like what is truthful now and what do I need now? And if you decide that what you do now, what you need now is to do some yoga and to have a good meal and to have, I don't know, to do a meditation, then your job is to choose that, because nobody else, like Lee was saying, nobody else will do it for you.
Yeah. And there's no right or wrong, I suppose.
No, it's not right or wrong. So you don't, if you need, like, you feel bad about not doing it, ask yourself, why are you feeling bad?
Yeah.
What's real now? What's real now? What's real now is that I'm feeling bad. And what can I choose now instead of that? I choose to feel good. How can I feel good? By doing some yoga and follow that. It's a matter of training that muscle, and Aaron knows better about training muscles, is practicing on that choice. Just forgiving myself for not doing it won't fix much. It will always come down into action. And this is where coaching is important, because it gives you tools on how to move from a bad feeling into a good action. Yeah. So it's a process. I don't think it's forgiveness that is necessary there. One idea I wanted to add as well, because you mentioned how to deal with anger and resentment through sport. Well, yoga is very good, and Ayurveda as well, because what I noticed in myself, the incapacity to forgive, was basically a very deep sense of injustice. Like you feel like I felt rage. So I swear it was so painful. It's the energy, the anger is so intense, and it's a very hot emotion. So basically you can actually do, in order to temper that, you can do some yoga that is aimed at reducing and calming the fire element, the pitta element in your body, and also to channel this energy in the right direction through physical exercise and through yoga. Boxing. I bought my daughter a boxing bag because she has some anger. So I said, okay, what can we do with this anger? Just go and kick it. So physical exercise helps release all this excessive emotion that come from the unconscious, from past experiences where you felt one day that you were treated badly and there was an injustice going on. And ultimately for me, you see, forgiveness, it's once you have dealt with all these things, with all these layers, because it's a complex issue, forgiveness. It's not something that you can do like this unless you're trained to do that. It is a lifelong process for many people. And for many people, they don't even get there at the end of their lives. So maybe the last moment, the last second on earth, they can see it all and release it all. And that happens often. But forgiveness, it's a long process of uncovering and releasing all these layers. And when you release all these layers, what's left is love and forgiveness. So I think love and forgiveness are basically the background, the foundation of who we are. And they are just covered with memories, with patterns, with emotions, with emotional charges. Yeah. And that's why it's important to do this work. When you do this work, forgiveness happens. Love is, and that's what it is. You know?
Oh, that was beautiful.
But what do you think?
I love that. That was spoken so lovely, wasn't it? That was beautifully done. Oh, dear. So now on that level, Lee, maybe you'd like to do that, what you were doing, because I think that would be so lovely. Your method.
Yeah, so it's a process that I tend to do with people when I have them in my office. You guys obviously are already understand and know how to. I'm just going to put a little bit of music on.
Yeah, please do.
You know how to sort of relax yourselves and sort of go into a nice calm state. So I won't go into full relaxation, but if you want to, it helps to close your eyes. But if you don't, that's also fine. You can keep your eyes open. And I just want you to breathe in and imagine the color red. And as you do, allow your body to relax. So visualize, imagine, experience the color red. And allow that now to be placed with the color orange. And just let your emotions calm now, settle from where we were at. That's right. And drift into the color yellow, allowing the mind to relax. Drifting, that's right. And allow yourself now to experience the color green in whichever way you do. You may feel it, visualize, float in the color green, and just let peace overcome now. Drifting into blue and now allowing love to fill you, surround you as you experience the color blue. And it doesn't matter whether you visualize clearly the actual color or just thinking about it is fine. And throughout the process, the thoughts in your mind don't matter. The sounds around you don't matter. In fact, you can allow any thoughts or sounds to just take you deeper. And by deeper, I just mean deeper inside yourself, deeper into the layers and levels of your incredible unconscious mind. And drifting now into the color purple. And we're here talking today on forgiveness. And we're working on experiencing the process of forgiveness. So perhaps even as you experience purple, just allow it to inspire thoughts of freedom, having let go, having forgiven. As you drift into violet, this beautiful harmony. And from where you are now, just go deeper within. And I want you to imagine that you're in a beautiful garden or a beautiful place from nature, perhaps the mountains or the seaside or just somewhere outdoors that is beautiful. And there in front of you, imagine, picture, visualize a beautiful castle up on a hill. And from where you are, looking at that castle, you realize that it exists. It exists just for you, for your benefit. And there's stairs that lead to this beautiful castle. Just notice that the love that emanates from it, or the aura. And as you look at it, you feel drawn to its safety and love. And in order for you to take the most out of this occasion today, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. And on each count, you can simply move effortlessly and easily up the stairs to the castle. As you drift deeper and deeper into yourself, on each count and your inner consciousness, you'll benefit from the journey even more. And 1, just allowing your breath now to take you to your fullest, deepest awareness, your very own feel-good experience. 2, with a sense of anticipation and knowing you have the right to feel absolutely wonderful. 3, as you drift now, your emotions and feelings starting to reach that calmest surface, that calm we were talking about, as you drift into the deepest levels of your own consciousness. And 4, on the next count, you can arrive at your castle that is there just for you. And 5, there you are. Imagine as you're standing in front of it all. It's beautiful. And there's an entrance to your castle. And what's important here now is that there's a sensation that just something important is going to happen for you today. All is ready for you. And you may notice 3 candles, sometimes they're there, for 3 special occasions. And you may want to take them while you go through the opening into your castle. And as you step inside, you notice 3 doors. Perhaps they're different to one another, maybe very similar, but you know which one you want to go through first. And you may want to light the right candle for this occasion as you enter that door now. At first, you sense you're alone, but then someone joins you there. Someone that you have to forgive. Forgive for something that is still a part of your system now, but something that is now right to take out of your system and to do the right thing, to let go. To let go of that which is good for you to let go of. Forgive so that you can be free again. Forgive so that everyone is free again and can heal and can grow. And I'm just going to ask you each to nod when this starts to make sense to you. That's right. And now I want you to proceed. You may notice that someone else comes into the room that you have to forgive. And I'm going to give you just a short time now to notice if there's anyone else that comes in, anyone else that you have to forgive in order for you and them to heal and be free to grow. That's right. And as you forgive each one for whatever's in your system that will benefit you to let go of now, allow that freedom. And you can come back and do this anytime, but for right now, I want you to notice what you notice about yourself as you get ready to leave. Notice how you feel. And there's more of that when you look to the next door and get ready to go inside, perhaps lighting the next candle. And as you step inside, this time you find yourself in a room that is be forgiven. And you can allow yourself now to be forgiven completely. Communicate to be free so that you can be more of who you really are. You may even be aware of those that are there to forgive you. There may be some that you didn't even know had taken what you said to be something that they need to forgive. But just let yourself be forgiven. That's right. And notice what is happening inside yourself. The subtle or not so subtle shift that happens when that burden is off. That's right. And before you get ready for the last candle now, as you leave that room, you know, again, you can come back anytime, so that you just let go of what's right now to let go of. But as you get ready for the last door with the last candle, perhaps the peak experience, light that candle and go through now into a space, a beautiful space in that last door, an empty space, except for a large mirror, a huge, beautiful mirror. Notice the frame that draws you towards yourself. And you realize that the time has come now for you to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for all that is ready to be forgiven, so that you can go and do what is right with a smile in your heart. You may notice a sincerity in the atmosphere. Perhaps there's a welcoming ambience or supporting vibes as you start your very own communication ritual, knowing that you're always doing your best, or you did your best with the resources that you had at that time. Knowing that you will certainly continue to do your best, and it will get easier when you move forward with a happy heart, peaceful mind, and perhaps even allowing that playful spirit to come out. You may listen to what you have to hear. So again, I'll be quiet for a moment while you just listen to that inner wisdom. There may be something just uniquely special for you now. That's right. And it could well be that the time has come for today, that we need to close those doors and finish this journey, all the while understanding on the deepest levels that you can connect to your inner wisdom whenever you wish and wherever it is appropriate and beneficial for you to do so. Every time, this is easier and easier, making you feel better and better about yourself. So I invite you to come here as often as you need. Your castle is always there for you. But for now, we need to come back. So you may close the entrance to your door, step outside, and gently go down the stairs again. 5, 4, 3, 2. And when you reach 1, there's a beautiful rainbow for you to slide through, sliding all the way from violet, purple, blue, each color bringing you closer to normal, peaceful, happy reality again. And when you open your eyes, you'll feel wide awake, alert, refreshed, and so much better than before. Yellow, orange, and as you slip into red, when everything is connected between the conscious and unconscious, and your body and mind know everything they need to, you can naturally open your eyes, feeling wide awake, fully alert, refreshed, and so much better than before when it's all assimilated. I can't hear you guys.
That was amazing.
Cool.
I'm on a rainbow. Oh,
Oh, good.
thank you so much. Wasn't that wonderful? I'm so relaxed now.
Wow. Yeah.
That was so beautifully visual. That really, really was. What a wonderful meditation. And it was good because like even with like, because the signal, it was going in and out, and then it was like making even more.
Okay.
Good. I liked it. I loved it. Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
It's a
Thank you.
pleasure. I'm glad you did. Yeah, good.
Darling.
Yeah, I did rush it a bit because I am conscious of time, so I didn't want to.
I'm
but
so grateful. Thank you. Guys, that was wonderful. What a lovely session again. Susie, go on.
Can I add one last thing before we end up the
Of course.
session? I had that idea earlier, and even now during the meditation as this forgiveness process was happening, because we talk about these notions and concepts, forgiveness, what is forgiveness and how do I feel forgiveness? So I think a way for everybody to test if you forgave yourself, if you forgave your past, if you forgive somebody, is to just tune into that. Think of that moment, think of that event, think of that person, and see what you feel. If you don't feel that love and that state of joy, that means the forgiveness has not yet been completed. That's a way to check it out. That's a way to test it.
Lovely.
And I've reached this point where I can look back in moments when before I was considered like terrible. I can look at them and then just think, okay, it was just part of the plan. And that's great. And it's not that it's good that it happened, but it's not bad that it happened. It's just, hey, it is what it is. And this feeling, I think that's the real feeling of forgiveness. So if you haven't reached that, you're not there yet. So you have to work on that, which shows up when you think of that person or you think of that event.
That was wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to finish this session now, and I just want to say thank you to you all. Anyone that's watching, I hope you got as much value out of it as what I did, because I'm in my castle now. That's it. I'm on my rainbow castle. So oh, what a lovely day. So everybody, what I want you to do is just do something that makes you feel good and forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself as your own best friend, because that's the most important thing, just to look after yourself, be kind to yourself and forgive yourself. Take responsibility and take action. And I just want to thank everyone for being with me, and anyone that's watching, please comment on the video, share the video. I'm going to leave everybody's website details and everything below in the description. So anyone that you want to go and visit us all, if you want to contact anyone, you can do through the links. And yeah, just please, if you're seeing it on replay, comment replay, give us a like. And yeah, on that note, I'm going to say raise your vibration, be the light, and have a wonderful BE day, wonderful bank holiday weekend. So I'm going to stop the live stream now, if I can. Yeah, and then I'm going to
say bye, everybody.
bye everyone.